All right, let's have a look at where we are in the current beta. Now we are in Impero, as most of you know, and those who have been enrolled in the beta will already be familiar with the control testing icon. For the rest of you, this is something that will be available later. But let's have a look at the control testing module. So, as we can see here, we have three different kinds of testing programs. One for 2023, 24, 25, as you can see here. This is very comparable to how we are doing control programs in Impero, meaning that each of these programs here will hold some tests. You can see a little bit of a sneak peek on this here in the column. Control tests, and it also on this level that we control the access rights. You can see that over here as well. So now we are currently at the beginning of 2025. So let's imagine that we are having a look back at 2024. So let's open the testing program 2024 control testing finance. And in here, we'll see a list of different tests. I'll get a little bit back to that. First, when we actually setting up these testing programs, we'll do that with, obviously, with a name. We can do some descriptions on that as well to define, okay, what are we actually testing within here. As I mentioned before, we can also set the access rights. Now, in this case here, I'm the only one with access, but we can define that here just as you're used to in other parts of the application. Then, if I scroll down here a little bit, we can see the more important part, at least in this context here, which is the tasks. We can see that there are two different conclusions here that we're doing. One is the control conclusion, the other one being the sample conclusion. So if we are visioning that, okay, we are here at the beginning of 2025, we want to set up a test maybe for like a bank reconciliation. We're looking back for the entirety of 2024. There should be, at least if it's something we do every month, there should be 12 different samples. What is it actually that I want the testers to have a look at on the sample that they are picking out of these 12 here? So that we are defining here in the sample conclusion. When you get access to this, or per default, at least for now, this section here will be blank. Those we had were enrolled in, have enrolled in the beta and played a huge role in providing us with feedback. Typically had their own testing framework in place. So there will be specific items that you need to check. There'll be something that you need to sign off. Maybe there'll be something that needs to be documented on each of these tests here. And again, as you are used to from our control section, these are the elements here on the right side that we can use. So this one here is kept fairly simple. So was it performed in due time? The tester can say yes or no. It can also be required, meaning you can't submit your sample conclusion here without having answered one of these two options. Could also be that you needed something like a small evaluation so that you identify anything. Could be minor issues, major issues. Maybe you passed the test here. Again, this could be required. And it could also be that, okay, if we have anything major, well, then we'll actually have maybe even a required comment field. Typically, it would be here stating that, okay, then we actually need a comment that's explaining the actual issue. So this here we are setting up. So let's say that, okay, you're picking out three different samples. You fill out the sample conclusion. I'll show you how that looks later. Then we are providing an overall conclusion for the actual control. And in Impero, that actually comes with this effectiveness radio button here built in. So this one is here by default. And we'll have these three different options: effective, partly effective, and not effective. If you're using something else, a different framework, you can relabel these. But for reporting purposes later on, decided, at least for now, to go with these 3 different options here. Again, you can build upon this. So it might be, okay, I'm not only looking for the effectiveness, I'm actually also looking for different measures, different conclusions. You can expand your control conclusion as well here. In this example here, we've just built in a comment field in case that the effectiveness is rated as not effective. Well, then again, we need this comment field here explaining why or putting some context to it. Once that is set up, then this sample conclusion and this control conclusion here would apply for every single test that we are creating within this program here. So now we are back at our current list here, and we can just use a bank reconciliation here again as an example. I'll just pick one here that we used. But it'll be the same if you are setting up a brand new test. Up here, you'll search through all the controls you have in Impero. Which one is it actually that I want to test? If for some reason you're a bit unsure if it's the right one or just want to see how it looks, you can click on this view control here. It'll take you directly to the control part. You can see title, descriptions, how it's set up, who's responsible, etc. So you can see again how the control here is set up. And for the tagging section here, we'll inherit all the control tags that we have. Now this one here is on the process. It could also be, is this a key control? Is it preventive, detective, etc. Everything that sort of describes the control that you have as a control tag would be inherent here for the tagging section. And you also have the ability to add in new ones here. So should there be anything that you'd like to use for reporting purposes in your export, so on, later as well, well, then you can add it in here, so that will only be reflected on your tests. And as we talked a little bit about earlier, we've actually prepared a little bit for some of these bulk operations. So we actually, you can change the naming here, but we're actually preparing for creating these tests here in bulk. So we'll come up by default with a title. It'll be CT : here in the space, and then the name of the control. And this will, as I already mentioned, be to accommodate having to do these or doing these future bulk operations here. It's okay, now I actually need to populate hundreds of tests. I don't really want to do it one by one. Well, then you can actually upload multiple at once, and then we'll have something here we can use for the title. You can also put in a description here. So this will be something you'll describe for the tester they can use when they are testing the controls. When that's done, we are setting up the sampling criteria. For now, that's something here we are defining annual. So what would the period be? So in my example here, it would be the entirety of last year. If it's something that you do on a quarterly level, something like that, you can obviously change it here. We change January to be for October, then it'll be October, November, December. That'll show up when you do your actual sampling later. I'll show you that as well. And then we are targeting, okay, what entity are we actually doing this for? And this example here will be for entity 100. And we are assigning some responsibilities, so with the actual tester. In this case here, it would be me. We also have the ability to do a review and even a second reviewer for this section here. The majority of those we spoke to in the beta, at least up until now, only have one responsible user, but we have some use cases, some clients that also has a review on the test part afterwards. So we've also prepared our system for that. That is something that you can do as well. And we're doing some timing. So when is this actually due? This one here will be in a couple of days. It'll be due at 12 o'clock. Then we are, again, just as you're used to with the control part, we are assigning some days here in the planning section by saying, well, the responsible tester in this case here will always have 3 days, and then we need 1 day as a review. So this is, again, so we can communicate these different deadlines to different stakeholders who is involved in the process here. But let's see how it looks. So right now, I'll just open my email here. And as you can see, this is when I'm being notified that I have a pending test. So I'll click on the link here to perform the actual test. And I can see the title here. I can see what's the sampling period. I can see what entity is it here that I'm actually testing for. Everything is what we just set up in the test. I can do my samples here. I'll get a little bit back to that in a second. And I can see my effectiveness down here. Effective, partly effective, not effective. And as we discussed, well, if it's not effective, then there are this please explain why section, but I'll get a little bit back to this in a minute here as well. So let's add in some samples. I can see these 12 results here. So let's say, okay, I want to see February, I want to see May, maybe I want to see September. So I am selecting these, and I can see them right here in my overview. I see when was the deadline, who was responsible, and what is the current status. All of these here have been submitted, but it could actually be that something in your selection was either waiting on a review or even on the responsible section. Then you'll be able to see that in this view here as well. So when I then click on each of these samples here, I'll in my menu get what we defined in the sample conclusion. So I can see, okay, was the control activity performed in due time? And to check that, I'll actually need to go to the actual activity. So I'll click on this one here, and then I'll be redirected to the actual activity, this one being for September. You can see, yeah, we did it. It was done. There was sufficient documentation on this one. I believe everything here looks good. I could go back to my test and say, yes, it was done. And yes, I do pass the test. And then I say, okay. Now, I mentioned both before, or I mentioned before that we have this review thing, this review that we can have on these tests here as well. We have these little icons here. You can see this little eye here, and this actually indicates whether the tester actually opened the activity and had a look at these items. So as you can see here, I viewed this at this point in time here, whereas these two ones here haven't been viewed yet. And again, this is also to help out the reviewer to see, okay, did the tester actually have a look at the activities? Then that'll show here as well. But let's perform the next two ones here as well. We'll go to the actual activity here again. This time it was for May. Also looks reasonable. Everything here looks fine. You can check the log here. No problems. Everything was completed in due time. So I say yes here, and I pass this one. And I do the same one here for the latter one. Now we've been through it a few times, but this time it's for February. Everything here also looks fine. So I'll say yes, and again I'll pass my test. So now in my three samples here, I evaluated that everything was all good. So then in my effectiveness down here, I'll also rate that as effective. And as I very briefly showed before, if it's rated as not effective, well, then we have this please explain why box here, so you can design how should this test actually look for the tester, depending on your framework, depending on what it is that you actually want out of this. Then I'll submit my test, and I am sure that I want to do that. And then that's basically it from a testing perspective. Now we'll jump a little bit back. I'll just refresh this one here. So now we'll just go back in an admin perspective. So now we are in the view here where we can see all of our tests. I'll go to the activity list up here on top, where I can see all the tests that we have populated, those that we've already submitted. I can also see the score here in the effectiveness column, but we've also improved our filtering here quite a bit. So let's say that I want to add a filter here. I want it to be on my different entities to test. So I have a look at entity number 100. Then I'm zoomed in on that, and then I can add other filters here as well, depending a little bit of I wanted to see. It could be a due date range. It could be who is responsible, reviewer, second reviewer, so on and so forth. You can see all the items here on my screen. We are accommodating this with a quick search bar as well. So now in my filtered list, I can actually do a quick search as well. If I want to see, okay, I want to see everything that's waiting on responsible, for instance. I can zoom in on that part here. I can select, let's just say, these 3 items here, and then I can reassign them to a different user as well. If this person is on holiday or something like that, or change position, then we can do that in this view here as well. So everything is very smooth, and it's really easy to both set a more permanent filter, but also to do a quick search if there is anything specific that you'd like to filter upon.